This is our list of the top 10 strongest pro heroes in My Hero Academia history. Number 10. Eraserhead. Aizawa Shota, or Eraserhead, is Shigaraki's favorite hero for good reason. His quirk, Eraser, is an exceptional one that allows him to cancel out another person's quirk just by looking at them and maintaining visuals. And in a world of quirk-reliant fighters, Eraserhead's power is a game-changer just about all combat situations. It also has the unexpected ability of minor anti-gravity, while in use, lifting his hair and such, keeping it away from his eyes, which he uses to create effect in combination with his binding cloth. A scarf-like weapon he uses to subdue targets. The fighting style he created with it took him a whopping 6 years to completely master. Shota had always been an impressive heroic talent as a former UA Class 1, a student himself. However, it was the death of his classmate Obarashiro Humo during a villain attack that set the stage for the sort of hero he developed into. As a first-year student, Shota single-handedly defeated the massive villain known as Garvey, the likes of which an entire squad of heroes failed to do. Not to mention that Shota was a real target all along, and not Shirokamo. Had Dr. Karaki and All for One gotten their hands on Erasure instead of Cloud, who knows how differently things could have turned out during the USJ incident. Eraser had took down dozens of low-level villains by his lonesome. Despite being a solo hero for years, Eraser has observation and evaluation skills, allowing him to coordinate with others to grant effect. Although Erasure fails to suppress mutant-type body augmentations, Eraserhead's tactical know-how allows him to come up with plenty of effective strategies on the fly. Aside from One for All, Erasure is perhaps the greatest asset the heroes have against the overwhelming power of Shigaraki. Without him, multiple of the characters on this list wouldn't even be alive anymore. Number 9. Lady Nagin. Kina Sasumi, or Lady Nagin, is not only a former pro-hero, but a former agent of the Hero Public Safety Commission. Lady Nagin is easily the greatest long-range fighter in Japan. Her quirk rifle allows her to use her right elbow as an organic sniper rifle. By removing parts of her own hair, she can create various types of bullets ranging from hollow points to even curving ones. She can also prep bullets in advance. Lady Nagin has been the Public Safety Commission's assassin since childhood. Snipe, a fellow gunslinger hero, despite having the quirk homing which allowed him to lock onto any target within 600 meters of himself, with homing projectiles, admitted that Lady Nagin's precision and distance is much better than his own. And naturally, Lady Nagin was responsible for the secret assassinations of countless villains, and as a hero, never had 2 of her shots be blocked in a row, despite facing the likes of Deku, one of the strongest characters in the entire world, and his many quirks tailored towards detection, evasion, maneuverability, and stealth. Furthermore, they fought in a city with several obscuring skyscrapers when it was raining heavily. That public safety training is no joke, and is exactly why Hawks was so concerned about Deku encountering his predecessor. Lady Nagin also received the quirk Airwalk from All for One, but by then, she wasn't exactly a hero. Even still, she managed to quickly adapt to the new power without issue and incorporated it with her rifle quirk to devastating effect, even using the recoil of her own shots as a propellant for enhanced movement. Lastly, Leah Nagin is so ridiculously impressive that despite suffering from life-threatening injuries induced by prior self-destruction, she successfully sniped both of Shigaraki's hands off mid-motion in the rain during one of the worst storms the country has ever seen. From Central Hospital, all the way to the UA floating fortress, which was in the midst of falling out of the sky. Number 8. Zero prior to becoming the vigilante known as Knuckle Duster, Iwao Oguro, was the high-speed hero O'Clock, or Hyperquad Fist in China. As a combat-focused hero, O'Clock was responsible for dismantling a remarkable number of villainous organizations. His quirk O'Clock allowed him to move at extreme speeds so fast that to him it would appear as if everything else was remaining still. However, what it really does is stimulate the brain like a computer processor and speed up the user's perception and thoughts so they can move much faster than others. Seeing, hearing, and thinking at hyperspeed under normal circumstances, he'd move about 3 to 10 times faster than your average person, but in desperate adrenaline-rushing situations, he could speed up to dozens of times faster. During the raid on All for One's underground masquerade fighting event, O'Clock fought against the villain Hood prior to his high-end transformation. Although this wouldn't be the prime of his enemy's capabilities, Hood at that point had still been modified to the point of being exceptionally dangerous. Despite this, O'Clock in milliseconds was able to effectively and accurately discern Hood's various strengths and weaknesses and develop the perfect plan to take him down. And before then, O'Clock fought against Kendo Rafa in his prime, the same guy who would later severely injure the combined forces of Kirishima and Fatcom. And O'Clock did this without suffering any injuries at all. Unfortunately, O'Claw's quirk was so remarkable that aroused the attention of the villainous All for One and was stolen. Yet without it, O'Clock would go on to become the strongest character without a quirk in the series, even able to trade blows with Eraserhead on even footing. This guy is so impressive that he's sometimes believed to possess a strength-enhancing quirk, and that's why he's holding back, because if he were to fight with his full strength, the average person would die instantly. He manages to attack with enough force to knock an enemy out, but never enough to kill. He got into a fist fight with a hulking villain that had their quirk boosted by the drug trigger, and after taking them down, was excited to fight even more massive opponents. Number 7. Best Genus Tsunagu Hakamata, or the Fiber Hero. Best Genus is Japan's number 3 hero. His quirk Fiber Master is a mid-range emitter type. With it, Vaginas can control all types of cloth with his mind. Denim is the easiest type for him to control, and sweats are apparently the hardest. Usually, targets can't resist his power if they're wearing clothes. It's perhaps the greatest capture ability in the series, and can only really be resisted by the very strongest characters in the series. Like Eraserhead, Best Genus is also a former UA student and was even class president, like Aida. When it comes to heroic collaboration, he's one of the best even after being placed in a death-like state for months after suffering a severe wound from All for One himself. Vaginas managed to capture several Leagues of Villains members simultaneously during the First War, most impressive of which being the impossibly strong Gigantomachia. Vaginas owes mastery over his incredible quirk to years of training, a feat so exceptional that despite its capabilities, All for One was unwilling to steal it on account of the difficulty. When it came time to face a symbol of Shigaraki in the final war for the fate of the world, Machinist was selected to be one of the heroes that would take him down. Number 6. Miroko Rumi Usagiyama, or the rabbit hero Maruko, is Japan's number 5 hero. Despite the Billboard hero charts being a glorified popularity contest, Maruko owes her own placements of power and power alone. Maruko's Cork Rabbit provides her a rabbit-like anatomy and abilities such as enhanced hearing, smelling, leg strength, and survival instincts. As a battle junkie, even while in middle school, Maruko, prior to becoming a hero, was known the legendary schoolgirl hooligan bunny Iridusako for invading many Hiroshima fight clubs in pursuit of strong opponents, and after being expelled for all that, entered a minor hero school in the same area. As a professional hero, Maruko is of the firm belief that heroes who join teams are cowards for depending on the strength of others. Because of this, unlike most of her peers, Maruko has never had a hero agency or sidekicks of her own. Like the free spirit, she simply searched the country for fights to get involved in. Which is why she was trusted to pursue priority targets, such as Dr. Karaki and Shigaraki, by her lonesome, some during the raid on Jakku General Hospital. During this time, Maruko managed to hold her own against a horde of newly awakened high-end Nomu. This was an especially grueling battle that saw her receive several grave injuries. Yet all throughout, Maruko made her love for life-threatening battles known, smiling even more than the symbol of peace in the face of certain death on account of living her life like there's no tomorrow. And despite losing limbs during this encounter, Maruko didn't let those things keep her from joining the Second War and even engaging the ultimate evil Shigaraki while making use of some brand new prosthetics. Number 5 Hawks Kigo Takami, or the Wing Hero Hawks, is Japan's number 2 hero and a former agent of the Hero Public Safety Commission. Hawks was taken in by the organization as a young child on account of his impressive quirk, fierce wings with it. A young Hawks garnered their attention by saving several civilians simultaneously from a high-speed car accident. The power provides Hawks. Hawks with a set of big red wings composed of several dozen feathers, which he can individually manipulate with his mind. With it, Hawks can soar through the sky at ridiculous speeds and attach his feathers to fulfill several tasks, both combative and otherwise. Even just a single feather is enough to move the average person with ease. Each feather acts as a sensor that can feel people and objects around them through vibrations, expanding the range of Hawk's own sensory detection. The feathers vary in size, strength, and cutting ability. They can even be used as bladed weapons to make up for his own lack of enhanced physical strength. Hawks is one of the fastest combatants in the world, and his entire fighting style revolves around that fact. When it came to petty criminals, Hawks was fast enough to take them down remotely before they could do any serious damage, or his sidekicks could provide any assistance beyond cleanup. Hawks is one of the strongest characters in My Hero Academia, and has served as the primary tactician of the heroes across 2 wars. He's managed to destabilize the careful planning of the ingenious All-for-One on more than one occasion, and has collaborated with various other heroes to incredible effect. Despite having lost the majority of his feathers, and by extension, the majority of his combat potential, Hawks continues to struggle against the Demon Lord and his villainous forces, and as we've seen from his villainous slaying of Twice, is willing to do just about anything to secure victory for his side. Number 4. Captain Celebrity Christopher Skyline, or the Playboy Hero. Captain Celebrity is an American pro-hero. Like All Might, Captain Celebrity as a hero was revered both in Japan and in the United States. Captain Celebrity's quirk is known as flight. This simple named quirk allows him to levitate and fly at incredible speeds. He can cover himself and anything he's in contact with in an aerodynamic barrier capable of withstanding extreme heat, cold, and physical harm, which may be controlled more precisely to decide how much of or what the barrier protects. It also grants him superhuman strength, enough to lift and carry a huge ship or the Tokyo Sky Egg, a 500 meters tall tower that at the time contained about 50,000 people inside of it. That's several million pounds of weight alone. And as per the name, he has virtually limitless flight-based capabilities. Not to mention he's really fast, since his barrier also protects from all the negative effects of accelerated and/or prolonged flight. Despite often coming across as disingenuous and superficial, Captain Celebrity's strength and capability as a hero could never be questioned. Number 3. Endeavor Kenji Todoroki, or the Flame Hero. Endeavor is Japan's current #1 hero, and boasts the most resolved crime cases in history endeavors. Quirk Hellflame is a mid-range emitter type that provides him with production and control over fire. He can adjust the temperature and intensity, cover his body in flames, or simply incinerate targets with massive blasts of fire. The sheer fact that this guy tends to keep his body flaming during hero work is proof of his incredible quirk control and proficiency. Endeavor has pushed his quirk to its utmost limitations, and more than most, has a very firm understanding of his utmost capabilities and limitations. He can mold his flames to act similarly to martial weapons, effectively fly, and remain aloft thanks to fiery jet propulsion, heat the souls with speeds to scale vertical surfaces, cauterize wounds, and incinerate enemies to the point of bypassing even the most extreme of self-regenerating abilities. After losing his father to a villain, Endeavor enrolled in UA, and at only 20 years old, had already risen to the position of Japan's #2 hero, doing so purely by way of results and certainly not popularity. Although he may have become jaded by his pursuit of All Might's position by way of his children, Endeavor never once lacked or faltered in his own training and has gone head-to-head against some of the most powerful villains in the world. Against all odds, he managed to completely destroy the high-end Nomu Hood. Despite being taken completely off guard by the Fiend during the original war, Endeavor was first on the scene to face the newly emerged Shigaraki and fared rather well, considering his opponent had several additional quirks besides his one-touch insta-kill decay ability, and had already been fighting all out for a while before that. Endeavor's efforts during that time were instrumental to the survival of both the heroes and Hope in general. During the Second War, Endeavor was specifically selected to face and defeat All-for-One, a task that only he could fulfill. And despite losing an arm to the villain's rivet stab-based assault, Endeavor successfully surpassed all limitations by creating a blazing fist in place of a skewered one. He successfully burned All-for-One to a crisp and forced him to use his last resort, reverting himself back to his physical prime at the price of guaranteeing his own swiftly approaching demise, something he hardly expected from the #1 hero, but genuinely congratulated him on. Number 2. Star and Stripe. Kathleen Bate, or Star and Stripe, was the #1 hero of the United States. Her quirk, New Order, is easily one of the most powerful these series ever seen, and was understandably desired by All for One almost as much as he longs for One for All, followed by providing new rules and/or properties to said things. These imposed rules could be of varying complexity, and the application wasn't restricted to things with a physical form. The nearly divine capabilities of this power apparently redefined humanity's understanding of what a quirk could be. Inspired by All Might, who had saved her and her family from a villain attack during childhood, Star refused to let things such as politics and foreign affairs restrict her from what she considered to be the heroic thing to do. She not only emulated his appearance with her dyed and raised blonde hair, incredible muscularity, and impressive 6'4" stature, but seeing as her quirk allowed her to maintain two imposed rules at a time, she constantly used one for the sake of providing herself with enhanced strength, speed, agility, and reflexes. She was far from the physical feats of her inspiration, but remained a powerhouse all the same. Star managed to take on a 98% Shigaraki, and mostly lost to him on account of limited intel and sentimentality for her endangered comrades. Yet even in death, Star managed to have her quirk disrupt the vestige world of Shigarakis. All for one quirk, destroying a number of his stolen quirks and postponing his complete transformation, giving the heroes of Japan a fighting chance against the villains. #1. All Might. Toshi Noriyagi, or All Might, is Japan's former #1 hero and was a symbol of peace for the entire world. Despite being born quirkless, All Might in his youth inherited the quirk One for All from his master, Shimura Nana, and became its 8th user, wielding the power for an impressive 40 years. With it, he was able to store plenty of power, augmenting all of his physical capabilities to the point of being considered not only the strongest hero, but the strongest person in the world. Just a single punch from the guy would be enough to take down just about any villain, or even change the weather. Even past his prime, the guy's strength was compared to that of nuclear weaponry, and if his fight against Anamu is an indicator, All Might was apparently 60 times stronger in his prime than he was at the beginning of the series, which is where all his absurd feats come from. So the idea of him having once been even stronger than that is insane. Even DQ couldn't reliably match his fraction of All Might's power. Despite being assisted by several supercharged quirks in the past, All Might was so fast that he was able to casually take down several dozen trigger-boosted villains prepared by All for One and save a bunch of school children all in 3 seconds flat. With this power alone, All Might was described by the official Ultra Analysis book to possess maximum stats in power, speed, technique, wits, and charisma, only being beaten out by All for One in terms of technique on account of the many quirks he wields and wits. Because All for One is a super genius. Although he managed to walk away with grave injuries, All Might managed to successfully defeat All for One, the villain responsible for the elimination of most of the country's greatest heroes and strongest quirk users over the span of several generations. All Might's recipe for success and application of this quirk was simple yet effective. And although he's not the smartest character in the series, the adoption of his now more supportive role has proven his tactical thinking to even rival that of All for Once. At times, there is no pro hero better or stronger than All Might,